What we learned in the past year is humans are going to human. You're right. It's not a
Yeah.
crypto problem.
Yeah.
FTX didn't fail because crypto failed.
Yeah.
FTX didn't fail because Bitcoin failed. FTX didn't fail because blockchain failed. FTX failed because Sam Bankman-Fried is a criminal.
Yeah. Yes.
He's a bad person doing bad things.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with crypto, has nothing to do with blockchain, has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It has to do with a person who stole money from clients.
The crypto community has been rocked by allegations of Ether corruption and fraud stemming from co-founder Vitalik Buterin. Last week, early Ether insider Steven Nareov promised to disclose recordings from 2015 that would expose fraudulent activities by Buterin during Ether's troubled early days. Nareov followed through, releasing 5 conversations between himself and Buterin, as well as a proposed rescue and restructure plan for the organization from 2015. In an X post, Nareov clarified, "The recording isn't directly related to the fraud, but will illuminate a lot of what was happening and show my involvement. The fraud will be in the lawsuit." Mark Yusko shares his concerns about fraudulent activities in the crypto space, from the FTX debacle which happened during the same time last year, and then so many others. He talks about market manipulation and how it is inherent in some people to be fraudulent, and that history always repeats itself because of what is called the human factor. Let us now dive into this interesting video. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your comments below.
We can't stop people like Sam Bankman-Fried.
No.
He can't. Because you can go back in time. P.T. Barnum, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Madoff.
Madoff, right? There are people who think they're smarter than the rest of us, or that the rest of us are just stupid, or because there's a difference between that, right? Someone could be smart and everyone else could be smart, or just everyone's stupid and you're just average.
Yeah.
But, Madoff was a great example of he preyed on the one thing we all crave.
What's that?
Inclusion.
Yeah.
We all want to be included. We all want to be liked. The way he worked, this is amazing. And I only know this because I happened to watch it in live.
Yeah.
We had a client that signed up with us when we first started, way back 20 years ago. And they had half their money with Madoff. And we're like, bad. So you got to take some off the table, right? You can't be that concentrated. And he won't meet with us, which is usually not a good sign. So again, I didn't know he was a fraud. I'm not saying I outed him, but I knew we should take money back. And so I'm down at Palm Beach Country Club, happening with this guy. And the way it worked, there was a table in the corner, like the Mafia Don.
Yeah.
And Bernie sat in the back, and there were 3 open chairs. And someone in the club, in the Madoff Club, would bring another person who wanted to be in the Madoff Club and sit down.
Right.
And then Bernie would listen to the person make the case why they should be allowed to be in the club. Bernie didn't pitch.
Got it.
They're just like, I want to invest in your 1% a month, please. And this guy, billionaire, suddenly jumps up from the table and says, "Don't you know who I am? You have to let me in." And he had told Madoff that in order for him to invest, his guys had to come do their diligence. And Bernie's like, "You're out."
Really?
And made a public spectacle in front of the whole group. "You're out." Everyone in that room was like, "Oh, I got to get in. I got to get in."
Yeah.
He was a master of that. And
he knew how to read a room.
Well, he knew how to manipulate, right?
He manipulated a great con. Yeah.
It's a total con because people say that was a hedge fund problem. It was not.
No.
Right? There was no hedge and there was no fund.
No.
He hadn't made a trade in 13 years.
I mean, you listen to the people. You listen to the people that work.
And there was no fund.
Yeah.
His brother-in-law was transferring the money into his personal account.
Yeah.
The dollar meandered on Thursday after U.S. jobless claims rose more than expected last week, indicating a cooling labor market that could prompt the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates in early 2024 as it tries to engineer a soft landing. The dollar index, a measure of the U.S. currency and 6 peers, edged higher 0.08% as a slowing U.S. economy leads the market to perceive the Fed is done raising rates. Mark Yusko now gets into macro, talking about inflation, debt, and the wealth gap. He explains how the central banks came to be and why the dollar is called the dollar. According to Mark Yusko, the government is robbing the poor to pay the rich, and he explains it in detail in this video. Let us now get back into the video and hear from Mark Yusko.
Money getting worse is the goal. See, this is the part this is the insidious part that bugs me. Central banks exist for one reason and one reason only: to enrich the people at the top.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a reason that this is on the back, the all-seeing eye is on the back of our currency.
Correct.
That's not an accident. Right? That was intentionally placed there because the pyramid is what this is all about. Inflation is a tax on the masses to enrich the rich. That's what it is.
So greed has just been fast forward even more so since COVID.
Well, the COVID thing exacerbated it on steroids.
Yeah.
From 1776, Shad, to 1913, $1. And by the way, you guys know why it's called $1?
No.
So the Rothschilds, the wealthiest family in the world, this is a crazy stat. The Rothschild family, now it's a big ass family, a lot of Rothschilds. Single family has as much wealth as the bottom 3/4 of the people on this planet. One family, 6 billion, same wealth. And it's because they invented the first central bank.
Yeah.
In 1607, the Bank of the Netherlands. Now think about this. In the 1500s, the most powerful country in the world was Portugal. There was no America. There was no Central America. There was no South America. There was Portugal. And they were the most powerful country in the world reserve currency. Spain takes them over. They're the most powerful country. Then a landmass about the size of Ohio takes over Spain. How did they do that?
Who is that?
How did the Netherlands take over Spain?
Oh.
The Netherlands became the world reserve currency, the most powerful country in the world, because the Rothschilds set up this central bank in 1607, and they literally printed money out of thin air to hire mercenaries to create an army to defeat the Spanish Armada. And they did.
Which is essentially
and that was in 1607.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what we do, printing money and just flying it into
Okay, now wait, it gets better. So
complex.
This is amazing. It gets really better. So then the French get this Napoleon guy. Turns out he's a pretty good general, and he conquers the Netherlands. So now France has the world reserve currency, superpowers. So half the Rothschilds split and go to the UK, and they set up another bank, Bank of England, and they print a bunch of money, and they fund the adoption of the steam engine, and they have the most powerful navy, and they defeat France. So then the sun never set on the British Empire, and then in 1913, coincidentally, 1913, another thing happened.
That's when the dollar was.
Fed was created.
Yeah.
So back to the reason, why is it called the dollar? Well, in 1776, when we set up the country, we were friendly with the Rothschilds, and the Rijksdollar from the Netherlands, we shortened it to the dollar. That's why it's called the dollar.
Yeah.
So then 1913, we invent the Fed, borrowing the model from the central banks in Europe. So the Fed, remember, is neither federal nor has any reserves.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a bank. It doesn't have deposits. It literally creates money out of thin air. And it's owned by these wealthy families around the world, most of them non-American. And since 1913, a dollar is now worth 3 cents. You say, well, why is that bad? They tell us inflation is good for me. If my house goes up, that's good for me. If my salary goes up, that's good for me. Well, if you're rich,
then it is,
yeah, it's good for you. But if you're not rich, if you rent your house, you rent your apartment, and you have a fixed salary, you make minimum wage, and suddenly your money's worth less, how is that good for you?
Right.
That's theft from the masses to the few. And from 1913 to today, we went from reasonable income and wealth inequality to the highest wealth and income inequality in the history of mankind.
Moody's, a leading risk assessment agency, has lowered the United States government's credit ratings outlook from stable to negative, citing political polarization in Congress. A country's credit rating is similar to an individual's credit score. It evaluates how likely an agency believes the government can pay back its debt obligations. A negative assessment can impact stock prices and interest rates on consumer financial products. Moody's still assigns the U.S. its highest triple-A credit rating, that was the only one of the 3 main rating agencies to do so. In August, Fitch Rating downgraded the government's long-term credit rating from AAA to AA+. Standard & Poor's lowered its score to AA+ back in 2011 after an earlier debt ceiling crisis. If Moody's changes the U.S. actual credit rating, rather than just its outlook, the government may be unable to borrow as much money or would have to accept a less desirable interest rate. That could affect the ability to pay government workers and provide critical services like Social Security. Moody's attributed its shift in outlook to declining fiscal stability, as exemplified by the government risking a default on its debt this summer after Congress failed to raise the debt ceiling. There was also the threat of a government shutdown, which President Joe Biden narrowly avoided by signing a 45-day funding bill on October 1. That same month, Republican Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy was ousted via a no-confidence vote, the first in U.S. history. That it took weeks to elect his replacement also factored into Moody's lower outlook, the agency said. On Monday, Republican Rep. Mike Johnson of Louisiana, who eventually took the speaker role, introduced a plan to keep the government running into the new year. While it passed the House 336-95, the majority of opposition came from fellow Republicans, underscoring the political instability Moody's called out. The measure was approved by the Senate Wednesday night and was sent to President Biden's desk for signing. Even the threat of a downgrade can have an impact on the stock market and interest rates. 3 days after Standard & Poor's credit rating change in 2011, the S&P 500 index dropped almost 7%. After Fitch adjusted its grade in August, the Nasdaq Composite fell 5.2%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average declined 3%. The other effect everyday Americans could feel is higher interest rates for various types of loans, including mortgages and credit cards. Government debt assets that can be bought as investments like treasury bills, notes, and bonds have historically been considered among the safest investments possible. What do you think about the wealth gap in America? What are the increasing market manipulations? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.